Hello again, everyone. This is Caroline, and today is Healers Program Series. It is the second class of the series. So if you are just joining for the first time, make sure you go back and you listen to the first class, because we go from subject to subject. We kind of do these things chronologically, so it's important that you don't miss information. But before we begin, I just want to answer a few questions and also talk a little bit about what we've covered in the last class, so we can transition smoothly into this class. So, by the way, folks, when you send me questions, I would appreciate it if you just put in the subject line Healers Program, so that I can recognize those emails and separate them from the other 100 emails that I receive all the time. And so that would be quite helpful. And I will begin by answering some of the emails that you have, because of course it's part of the understanding the material. So some of the questions had to do with the connection itself, the meditation. Many of you seem to feel and experience a great deal of expansion, feeling really, really nice during the meditation and of course afterwards. But then when you go home, or if you try to repeat it at a later time, it doesn't seem to be as effective, or so you think it is not as effective. At least you are not experiencing or feeling the expansion in the same way that you feel it in the class or live with the group. So I want to tell you that, of course, we talked about that briefly last time. This is a new frequency, it's a higher frequency, and because you are so used to being in a lower frequency all the time, it's very difficult to maintain it right away. That's why you have to retrain your brain to recognize this frequency, and you have to keep at it so that you get used to reintegrating this frequency into your awareness, so that then you get used to it again, and you have an experience every single time, whether it's in the class or not. Another question had to do with, and I also have to tell you, some people feel less. I've had some people who did not feel very much in the first few times that they've done the meditation and these exercises, but what happens is that suddenly it just clicks. The more you do releases, the more you do healing and clearing, the more you begin to really feel a lot. You start to experience a lot. So just be patient and know that you are retraining your brain, and you will begin to feel quite a bit, in fact. Another question also had to do, a few of you had asked me, okay, so we know that that I've been telling you that these are all frequencies, that everything has a frequency. And some of you asked me, I think I responded briefly to that question. How do we measure this frequency? Well, the way you are retrieving information is through your full brain, through the process of merging. I'm going to teach you this process in the next class. So just be patient a little bit to understand that this is a new process. This is the same process as learning, as absorbing information, retrieving information from anything. And so in the next class I will explain in more details this process, and I will also talk about how to not just retrieve information in terms of what the vibration is, but also what the problem is. So this is very relevant to this course. How do you retrieve the information, the root cause of the issue, if it is all part of your guidance system? So we're going to cover this, and also I'm going to talk more about the learning, the Omnium learning method, also at a future time. All of these things are all relevant, so just be patient. Another couple of questions had to do with your personal issues, your personal problems. You know, we said that in this class you will be becoming the instrument itself, and so you will be processing a lot of this information on a deep cellular level. This higher vibration will allow you to clear your own issues, your own blocks, so to speak. So you will be healing yourself. So all of these problems that you have mentioned in your emails could be addressed during the exercises that we do every time and during every class. Okay? So I think I've covered pretty much all the questions. If not, just keep sending those and we'll keep on covering them in future sessions. And of course, there's at the end of the hour, we're going to do the same way. We're going to go at this program today in the same way. I will first cover the class material, and then we will do some question and answers, and then at the end we will do the experiential portion of the class. Okay? So here we go. Let's begin with today's class, and what we're going to talk about today is we're going to, of course, continue to talk about raising your vibration. We're going to talk about meditation and breathing because this is an important topic, and we assume that everybody knows how it works, and everybody is coming from a different background, so you're all coming from certain traditions and ways of doing things, and I want to discuss that so that we continue with a clear understanding. We're going to talk about the makeup of the energy field. We covered that a bit last time, a little bit more detail this time. And also, we're going to talk about how blocks are created in the energy field and the cells. If we don't know how blocks are created, then how do we know how to reverse them? So, we talked about the way to raise the vibration to 734 to 1000 hertz would be to do the connecting to source meditation. The one, again, it's available on the website. At any time you can go back. It is free of charge. And what this meditation does is it raises your vibration, it aligns your mind channels, but also the best way to expand your energy field, we talked about your expanding your energy field to a universal level is through breathing. So the connecting to source tells you to point your mind channels to a specific place, because there are some people who say, oh, but I'm connecting with source energy. But which source energy? This meditation tells you to point your mind channels to the source at the center of this local universe. And it sounds like a detail. It's not a detail. It's a huge, huge difference. We talked about how the mind channels are really responsible for retrieving information. So, if I think that I'm connecting to source, but I'm actually just going inside within my physical body and asking source energy to be present. Of course, it is there, but it's not the same as the source energy at the center of the universe. So that is very important detail, because I get a lot of emails saying that, I work with source and all that, but specifically source at the center of the universe. Also, this meditation, if you notice, I always tell you, breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, because this is the fastest way to raise your vibration and expand your energy field. Again, breathing is used, for example, in yoga and different techniques for different sorts of things, to circulate the energy, to open up the meridians. For various reasons, you use various breathing techniques, but I'm telling you to use the breathing specifically in this way, in through the nose and out through the mouth. That allows you to raise your vibration as quickly as possible. So these are important details to remember. We went through it very quickly last time, but I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. For example, some people have been doing meditations for a very long time. even what people call transcendental meditation, but or other types of meditation, or going within. The fact that you feel calm, the fact that you feel at peace, does not mean you are connected to Source. It just means that you are calm and at peace, you see. You can achieve a sense of quiet when you go within, for example, and you're focusing on your heart and you let your mind kind of quiet down, but it is not the same as being connected to Source. And so this is not to say that the other techniques are not helpful. They're just different. And the idea is, it's not just to quiet your mind. What I'm teaching you here is to connect to Source, not just for, again, finding the quiet, raising your vibration. But this also, by you connecting to Source in this way, you are then reintegrating the aspect of your being that is universal. That's why this is a different way of bringing the energy down. This is a different way of quieting down and meditating. So please take that into account, because some people want to do this work, but then they want to hold on to their own way of meditation. So in the same way as you are doing this with a client, make sure that you are specifically bringing that intent with you, that as you are connecting to Source at the center of the universe, you are reintegrating their full being. Otherwise, as you can see, you are still looking a little bit like on the left. You may find a time of quiet, but your mind channels will not be properly aligned. You may find an internal sense of peace, but it does not mean that your mind channels are aligned. So this is a little bit more detail from what we had covered before. So if then the cell vibration could be raised to 734, and if it could, that is the way to then reintegrate your full being, meaning your universal aspect and your planetary aspect. Well then, how is the cell vibration altered? How does it change? Why does it go down from the 734? It is because we have put in new information. When you come in as a baby, you come in already at the higher vibration. You haven't had time to change that vibration yourself. So something else happened along the way since you are born. You've been putting in additional information. And this additional information is what we call blocks. So you have been putting blocks inside the cells that have lowered the vibration, or that continue to lower the vibration. So if that's the case, then how was the block created? Where did it come from? Well, if we want to know how the block came from, we need to know how we create anything at all. And of course, to understand how we create, we have to understand how we are made and in which context we are creating. Because we cannot say we create this way and that way if we don't understand how we are made. Again, we go back to what we briefly covered last time. The context is we are made of both a physical DNA, a human DNA, like we said last time. That's the way you look, that's the way you have hair colors or eye colors or what have you. That is your human DNA. And your divine DNA, what I call the divine DNA, is your universal aspect. You can look at it this way as well. As we mentioned, is that the DNA patterns that are inside your body are the human, but then you have the outer DNA, which is the divine DNA, that also is you. If you were to look at it this way, we looked at it last time, this is a quick reminder to now try to determine if this is how the way we are made, then how is it that we are creating? So this is the full you, right? We saw that last time. Take a look at the tiny little dots at this on your physical body. And you will see that the bottom, the first dot at the bottom is the connector point for the human energy field, for the green energy field. This means that your green energy field, your human energy field, connects at this point, which is your navel. So right behind your navel, there's a point, there's a place that holds this whole energy field together. Okay, and so that's what most people are looking at, like I said last time. But then if you look at the right here, this point that is right behind the heart, this point is the one that connects this pink aspect of your being, which is the spirit aspect of your being, and that's another energy field. And then you have the third point right here, which is a point right behind the pineal gland inside your physical brain. And that point is the one that holds this outer layer, this other energy field that we call consciousness or mind energy. So look at this picture real clearly. Register this image in your consciousness, because these three energy fields are integrated within your being. You are made of these three all the time. And of course, you, in order to maintain these three, you have to be at 734 or 1,000. But now we're talking about how you create, right? So if you are made of these three energies, well, how do you create? What happens when you create? When you say, I want something, I want to create a relationship or a house or what have you, or a job. What happens? What part of you does what? So it looks something like this. What aspects of you creates? So if this is you, again, this is the physical you, the human you. And then this is the outer layer that we call consciousness, right? We're going to let go of the other part for now, just to understand how we create anything. Because if we know how we create anything, then we know how we create blocks, right? So the part of you that we call consciousness or mind energy, it's a whole, it's a type of energy that it's not human, that it's not planetary. It's a form of energy. And that aspect of you, that part of you, sends tiny little signals from that aspect of you into your brain. So you have tiny little electrical particles that come in from the mind energy, the consciousness aspect of you, into your brain. And then your brain sends out a signal into the world. That's how it normally works. In order for you to create anything, you are supposed to be receiving an electrical signal from your higher consciousness in this way, right? So take a look at this, and I hope you can again visualize and memorize this drawing, because this is the way it's supposed to flow. There is a constant, very smooth, comfortable flow that is coming through from the mind energy, the consciousness aspect of your being, into the human aspect of your being through your physical brain. And then you emit a little particle of energy that we call thoughts. Okay? So as you observe this, we also have to realize that as you begin to send out the signal into the outer reality, this signal that we call the thought, right, is subject to your belief. In other words, the signal that comes out, it comes in through consciousness absolutely seamlessly, absolutely effortlessly, but it comes out of your brain through a belief system. This means that It's subject to what you believe at that particular time. And we know that that's the case. We know that that's true from the placebo exercise. I think we are all aware of what placebo is, but just briefly, this is an experiment that shows that you can manifest an actual physical reaction in your cells, in your physical body, if you believe. In other words, if you believe that you are taking a pill that will soothe your pain, that will stop your pain, then it does. But if you don't believe it, then it doesn't. And so these have been, of course, scientifically proven that you could even, and the other way also works just the same. If I give you a pill and I tell you that it's going to help you, but you don't believe that that's the case, even though it is really supposed to, then it will not help you, and you will not be able to manifest the physical reaction if you do not believe. So the belief is what alters the reaction to the cell. It's the belief that then creates your final reality. You see? And also there's more scientific study out there that show that it's the state of mind, that it's the way when we are stressed, for example, that there is physical evidence in the cells. In fact, there's also scientific evidence that the stress, the information of stress changes the configuration and transforms the DNA of the cell. They say, in fact, that, for example, cancer destroys the DNA of the cell. So if the cell came in with a DNA that's very whole and complete, if you inject new information, meaning you inject the consciousness, the frequency of cancer, this DNA changes. It radically, completely changes. So the cell reacts according to information you are putting in. All right? So this is the way your mind creates, through the belief. And once it believes, then also it creates the reaction. It manifests on a cellular level. So if your creation depends on your belief, then it could look something like this. It is filtered through your belief system, and whatever comes out of your physical brain, whatever you think you are creating, is now subject to this new belief system. So your belief system becomes the filter. Your human belief system is the filter to your higher consciousness. Make sense? Just think about this for a moment. Because if you really understand that it's your human belief system that is creating your reality, then you realize the importance of it. And you realize that the block that you are creating for this flow that is supposed to be seamless and effortless. And here you are now trying to survive in this 3D reality. Everything had a frequency, right? Check this out. We're out in the world in crowds, we're eating, we're being bombarded with information, and we are desperately trying to maintain our 734 hertz vibration, right? And we are trying to create our reality. So here's the flow of consciousness that's coming through. And we are then trying to interpret this information and send it out into 3D reality to create what we want. And at the same time, we're being bombarded with the vibrations and the frequency and the information that is coming to us into our physical brain at the same time. And what that does, as we are interacting with our 3D reality, we start to create new beliefs. For example, as you observe how, reality is, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, what people are wearing, what they're not wearing, who's successful, who's not, and what's on TV, and who should I have kids. All of this information that you're being bombarded with is registering in your physical brain, and you are then creating new beliefs because of that. And on top of this, you are absorbing all of the vibrations, all of the frequencies. You're being bombarded by a whole range of frequencies. And so this is how the flow that is supposed to be coming from your consciousness in a very seamless, effortless way that allows you to create from a higher perspective gets very confused and very disturbed, right? So I think we can all relate to that. I also wanted to remind you that not all 1,000 hertz are the same. Not all vibrations are the same. I showed you earlier, for example, a television set, or any sort of electronic, or for example food, or for example, of course, people. And so I want to tell you that, because this is another question that I've received. One of your question is that, so is it important to just raise everything to 1,000 hertz? It's not the same, because it's really the 1,000 hertz of your physical body, of your physical cell, is not the same as 1,000 hertz coming out of a machine. For example, there are some people, for example, who understand that there is an optimal vibration for the cells, and so they say, okay, well, this is great. If the liver is supposed to vibrate at 760, for example, I can bombard it or give it that frequency so that it can, through entrainment, it could rise up to that level. But what happens is that this machine is sending 780 or 1,000 hertz or what have you. But that signal coming out of the machine, even though it is 1,000 hertz, it's not the same as you raising your cellular vibration to 1,000 hertz. Because your cell is made of chemical elements. And it's that chemistry, when it's raised to 1,000 hertz, that is the proper organic way for the liver to function. If the liver is being given 1,000 hertz but from a machine or a tuning fork or a bowl or what have you, all these things, these instruments, it is simply not organic. It is not the same. So just remember that. Also, it is not the highest, normally it should be, but because we are bombarded with so much information, so much things coming at us with different vibrational range, it's not the highest that wins, so to speak. It's not, for example, let's say I am at 700 hertz or 800 hertz. And I'm bombarded with, the computer is at 60 hertz, and something else is at 100 hertz, and I eat something that's also at 300 hertz, for example. So it's not that because I am at 1,000 hertz that I am going to basically win, or I am going to overcome the other vibration. Normally it should be this way. It's how much of each vibration are there. And for example, if there are 100 thousands of information and you think that's a lot, it's not a lot, because that's how many thoughts you emit. You emit about 60,000 thoughts a day. So if these thoughts have a lower vibration, they're all at 100 or 200 or 300. When you are trying to maintain your 1,000 hertz, there are 60,000 other things that are kind of preventing you from maintaining this vibration. So it's not the highest, but the most dominant vibration that's going to win, so to speak. And also, let's not forget, we talked about things in the 3D reality. We talked about situations and object and electronics and what have you. But also, our emotions are a form of energy. Our thoughts are a form of energy. Everything in life, everything in existence is a form of energy. It's not the same type of energy, it's just a form of energy. As long as it's energy, no matter what form or what type of energy it is, it has a vibration, because by definition, energy is moving, is vibrating. And so your emotions are also energy and have a vibration, and of course they range from very, very low to very high. Of course, needless to say, the vibration of love, the vibration of joy is a very high vibration. The vibration of guilt, the vibration of anger, and of course fear is a very low vibration. And that goes the same for your thoughts. If you have thoughts of love, thoughts of oneness, thoughts of higher creativity, all that stuff, this is very high vibration. But when you think, when you have thoughts such as self-doubt, self-hatred, confusion, all of that stuff, you are vibrating very, very low. Do you begin to see how difficult it is to maintain this 1,000 hertz when we don't know, when nobody tells us, and as we come in as children, we are not told for years and years and years and years what our mind channels are doing, what vibration is doing, what things are doing for us, to us, and what we're supposed to be doing to maintain this higher vibration. So if we're not told this, we then start to have these new beliefs, as I mentioned earlier, because we're bombarded by all of this lower vibration information, plus we have our own thoughts, our own confusion. We start to have emotional reactions to all of this. For example, we are confused as to what to eat. We are confused. We are angry because we don't have the degree, because we're not going to the best schools. We feel we are not good enough because we are not married by a certain age. We feel disconnected because this and that. So all of these feelings, all of these emotions weren't there before. They showed up, they appeared from your interaction, from your experience with the 3D reality, with the outer reality, with the physical world, from our teachers telling us how to be, how to succeed, how to think, how to appear, to, of course, this entire educational system, family requirements, religion, institutions, so on and so forth. So we end up looking like this. By the age of 35, we start to look like this. Can you just imagine? So what happens is, here we are trying to create our reality, but for years and years and years, we are absorbing information that is much lower than our original vibration, and before we know it, our frequency drops, our entire overall vibration drops to 175. The average human on the earth right now is walking around like this. Walking around between 150 and 225, something like that, and trying to create. Okay? So you see the problem. Do you see why we are trying to receive the information in the meantime? Our higher consciousness, that has not stopped. That has not stopped. The information is still coming down very effortlessly, smoothly, but because your human brain and your belief system is the filter, now what's going to come out from this brain gets to be very confused, because this signal, it's very, very simple. Just look at it. The signal coming from your higher consciousness, from that aspect of your being that is universal, that is connected to all that is trying to get through to you. Is trying to get through to your physical brain so you can send out a proper signal and attract what you want, manifest what you want, create what you want, meaning healthy body, healthy relationship, success, what have you, creative, have very highly advanced creative abilities or what have you. Instead, this is how we end up. So you can, of course, see how we are supposed to be and how we come in originally on the left side. And that means no blocks, no emotional blocks, no belief systems that have been invented and put in there as a filter. And rather than on the right side, the way the average human really is. So if we look at this on a cellular level, how does that translate? This is kind of, as we look at it on an energetic level. And by the way I've depicted, I've shown you this picture here. This is exactly, for those who can see subtle energy, I'm throwing this in because some of you can, but you're not sure what you're saying. Do you see these tiny little clusters? Your thoughts really look like this. I can see them very, very clearly. They're like tiny, tiny, tiny grains of dust or sand or what have you that look gray. And these are thought clusters, thought forms, and so that's how they appear. And these little clouds in your physical, in your energy field, are emotional blocks, and that's how they usually look. So for those who sense or can perceive a little bit of that, this is quite actually close. You see little clouds inside the energy field. Usually red pertains, we're going to, of course, cover that later on in the course, but this is just a quick information here. Usually red pertains to anger. Fear is usually this dark, it's usually black. Brown and gray is usually a physical body illness or a malfunction. So this is just a quick note. So that's how the energy field looks after these blocks and these new belief systems. But if you kind of zoom in and look deep on a cellular level, what's happening inside your body? That's how you look on the outside. But on the inside, all of this information, these blocks, these new beliefs are now inside your cells. So this is how a normal cell looks like. It has chromosomes. The DNA tells it how to behave, how to vibrate, how to function. It tells it you're supposed to rotate at a certain vibrational frequency. It tells it you're supposed to appear a certain way. You're supposed to create blonde hair or blue eyes or what have you. And you're supposed to have that many to produce this type of blood cells. You're supposed to have that many to produce this type of liver. You're supposed to have that many to produce a healthy immune system or what have you. So all of this information is a human DNA. It is integrated within the cell. So I think we all know that. We don't have to go in too much detail. There's enough evidence to decipher, although we have a long ways to go. But at least we understand that within the DNA, the human DNA, there's information that tells it what type of chemistry it should have. Each cell is supposed to have. You're supposed to have that much oxygen, that much carbon, that much this, that much that. This is the chemistry of the cell. It tells it how big it's supposed to be or how small, and how it's supposed to rotate. That's ingrained within it in the human DNA. But on the other hand, I also said that there is another part of us that's universal. I call it divine DNA. So within the cell also is another programming. There's more information, another encoding, so to speak. That encoding tells the cell that it can sustain itself forever and ever and ever. It tells the cell that it can self-manage. It knows how to manage itself. It knows as an independent entity or consciousness, it knows how to exist forever and ever. It can self-organize. If there's a part of it that's missing or what have you, it knows how to find another way to exist. It can self-regenerate. For example, if there's a cell that's destroyed, it knows how to recreate itself. All of this encoding is coming from the universal aspect of your being. This is not, even though we can see some evidence of it in the human DNA, but it's not the human DNA. It's the divine DNA or the universal aspect of your being that is managing your whole being. And of course, because it is this is more of the spiritual aspect of it, because you are a universal being before you were a human. Before you were a human, anyone on the earth was created. You were created from the universal fabric. And that fabric has a DNA, has information. Just like your human body and DNA has information, the universe has also information. And that DNA tells the cell to vibrate with the frequency or with the principles of love, truth, beauty, and goodness. Now, this is without getting into too many details, but this is not the love or the truth or the beauty that we think of in human terms. These are universal principles. This has to do with the coherence of creation, how all of creation coexists within the universe in certain harmony, certain transparency, certain harmonics, which we call beauty and balance. So that's what this information is, really. And this part of you, this divine DNA, is very much within your being, right? So this is how you are made on a cellular level. But what happens? We come here on the earth and we start injecting new information. That's the vibration. Let's say that this particular cell is vibrating at 580, for example. Right? But then we start to add new information. The confusion, remember that those bubbles in your energy field? Well, guess where they are? They're inside your cell. When you have anxiety, constant anxiety, I'm not talking about a brief moment of anxiety, I'm talking about sustained emotions, sustained for a long time. When you have fear, constant fears, self-hatred, feelings of belief systems, not good enough, plus in addition to all of this, you are bombarded with lower vibration and chemistry. For example, the pollution, poor diet, addictions, all of this is new information that wasn't there before. You didn't come in being afraid of spiders because there's no spiders in the universe. I mean, there are different types of things, but all of these experiences started to happen after you became a human. And so, same with the pollution, that's for sure, and certainly the poor diet. And so all of these experiences, these added emotions and belief systems came as additional information that were added to your cells. All right? So when this happens, if you started at 780, 580, what have you, when you add things to the cell, of course the vibration has to drop. It's kind of like if you're running and all of a sudden you have to carry a huge bag of stuff. You're adding more weight to your body, and then you have to run. Of course, you're going to run much slower because you've added more weight to the cell. And so that is what's happening on a cellular level. You are then putting in new information into the cell and then into the organ. So the heart frequency is now 480 instead of the 760, for example. Your liver cell, of course, is at 375 instead of 680. Your lungs is at 275 instead of 690. And your intestinal tract, for example, is at 175 instead of 780. So as you continue to put in the new belief systems and the emotions, the misaligned emotions, the lower vibration, they are going into your cells and adding new information, therefore more weight to your vibration. And that's how your vibration goes down. Make sense? So let me see here. I guess that was it. Okay, good. So I'm going to stop right here. Next time I will show you how these blocks are registered not just in your cells, but in the whole body in terms of strings, and through time what really happened. And the reason why we have to understand this, because we have to, everything that's going to follow from here, meaning how we're going to undo this, how we're going to heal, you have to understand how things have been put in so that we can take them out. If we don't understand, in fact, just going back briefly to this picture right here, if you don't understand this part right here, then guess what happens? Here you have a cell that's vibrating very low, meaning your heart cell or your stomach or your liver, right? And what do? Of course, some people would go to a doctor and would get medicine to cure that problem, because of course now the cell is malfunctioning and is there's imbalance, there's disease, whatever, depending on the how advanced the case is. And so what happens when you take a drug to cure this problem? In terms of this, if we had to continue the logic of this information, when you take a drug, you are adding more information. You are now saying to the cell, okay, you're not only supposed to be looking like this and have this chemistry, and you're supposed to behave this way, and you're self-sustaining, self-managing yourself, all of this stuff, but you're also confused, you're also have anxiety, you're also full of hatred, you're also full of anger, and you're afraid of everything, and you're not good enough, and you're also full of wrong chemistry, and you're this and that. And in addition to this, I'm going to give you another chemical component to tell you how to behave. That's what the drugs are. The drug is a chemical component that tells the cell how to behave. It tells it to become numb to pain. It tells it to add more serotonin or it changes the chemistry, but it's telling it what to do from an artificial chemical. So how is the cell, even if the cell most of the time will respond to that order until it stops responding to that order, because deep inside it knows that it's supposed to be self-sustaining, and you're adding more information. That's why you go to another doctor or someone else you know or what have you, and then you take another drug because the first drug stopped working. Why did it stop working? Because the information was fake. The information came from the outside, and it was a temporary solution to make it do something. Again, it's added information that it didn't have. And then we go and we use, for example, acupuncture and homeopathics and these sorts of things in herbal medicine, which is a lot better, of course, because it's more natural. But then again, you're also adding more information to the cell, even though it's trying to work with the natural vibration. Homeopathics is a vibrational medicine, in fact, and others as well. But again, you have so much added information into the cell that unless you understand this, unless you understand that you have to remove the information you put in, then you will continue to confuse the cell more and more and more. And so that's really the bottom line when we are going to begin to work with all the different tools. The idea is to regain the higher vibration by undoing what we have done, the information that we have put in the cell. And so that would be the fastest and most complete way to regain the perfect vibration of the cell. Okay? All right, so let's stop here and take some questions, and then we'll continue in the next class. We will begin to see how to undo this as quickly as possible. All right, here we go. Questions. This is the time to raise your hands and ask your questions. Let's try Stephanie. Your hand is up. Do you have a question? Stephanie? I guess not. Okay. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Otherwise it gets confusing. You can, if you don't have a mic, you can of course also type in your question. All right, folks? Okay, Joyce, you're on the air. What's your question?
I did not raise my hand.
Oh, okay. Your hand is up. All right, guys. So go ahead, John. John, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Pinar actually, but so I have a problem sitting upright, so my body gets really noisy and I can't relax well. And then I actually tried it without touching the ground, and I felt it worked better for me, but I just want to hear what you think about this.
Yeah, for the posture, you're talking about the low...
Are you talking? Oh.
Okay, there's echo, you guys. It's easier.
Sorry, can you?
I believe you're talking about the lotus position. Are you talking about like being in a lotus position?
Yeah. So if I just cross my my legs and then sit more comfortably that way, then I felt I was able to connect better.
Yeah, of course.
My mind goes.
Sorry, go ahead. You're saying your mind goes.
Yeah, my mind goes to my body, like my body pain, and I feel like I can't really follow, like when I do the guided meditation.
Okay, so that's what I was saying earlier. Many of you already have a meditation technique that you are used to, and so you are so used to it that because it's the most familiar, it's the most comfortable. And the problem with the lotus position is that if you can imagine the energy coming through from the top of your head, coming down, that's why I showed you this picture for you to really visualize it. So as you have the information coming through from source and coming down, hold on, I'm trying to find the this one. Okay, so if you have the flow coming through the top of your head, right? It's coming down. If your legs are crossed, like in a lotus position, then this information comes back. It's going through your cell and comes back in, and up and down and comes back in. So you're going in circles. And the flow of energy, see, I told you earlier that consciousness is sending you particles of energy. that is for your guidance, for your clarity, for your health, for everything. And so this information, it's flowing through your brain, but then it's being trapped in your body if you're in a lotus position, whereas if your feet were on the ground, then it will be released from the bottom of your feet and it will be anchoring you into the consciousness of the planet. And so that's why it's a lot more, you're not trapping the information in your body and the energy in your body. That's the reason why. Like I said, I wanted to insist a little bit on this style of meditation exactly for that purpose, because you're so used to a certain way. So if you have to do it gradually to adjust, then it's fine. But at least understand why. This is not my way or their way or his, the energy is flowing according to what where you're telling it to go. And so, like I said, if you are quieting, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are connecting to Source and that you are bringing the consciousness of Source, meaning the universal consciousness and who you really are, into your being and allowing it to flow out and back in. You are how should I say, you are the instrument, you are the funnel. You're not supposed to be trapping the energy inside your body. It's supposed to be coming in and out and back and forth. There's a constant flow of information. All right? Here we go. Go ahead, Jean. You're on the air. Jean, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I have my hand up?
Yes. Okay. So you guys, you can take a look on your screen and see if you have, if your hand is up. Let me see who else. Go ahead, Taya. Did you have a question?
Got it?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, about the DNA.
Yes.
I work as a healer, and I see the DNA. I saw that there are 3 main DNA functions, and I was wondering whether you would agree with me. There's one function that sends out information. There's one function that retrieves information, and there is a function that communicates with other DNA throughout the whole body. Do you see this as well, or is it something, or am I missing stuff? Is it much more than this?
Are you talking about the human DNA? What part of the DNA are you talking about?
Well, it's more the function of the human DNA within the cells. So the cells communicate with each other, but communicate with the outer world, and I saw that DNA even communicates with the food we eat before we even actually eat it, and I saw that DNA communicates with the universe. I mean, all over the place.
Of course. So what you're talking about, this communication ability, is ingrained within the DNA, but that's only one line item. It's not one function. We're only listing like 2 or 3 things, because the DNA is a very, very complex encoding that's very, very, very long. And we're still, human science anyway, is still deciphering the huge amount of information. So one of this information is that it is in constant communication. It's processing information in and out within the cell, with other cells, within the human body, beyond the human body, and of course with the universal aspect of your being. So what you're saying, of course, is true. It's just one line item of the DNA. Go ahead, Kyla. Go ahead, Kyla. You have a question? Your microphone, we can hear you. You don't have to be typing.
Oh, can you hear me right now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was doing this earlier on a computer without a mic. Okay, my question is the condition called dyslexia or ADD in children a manifestation of children being connected to the spiritual grid or the universal source? And if so, can you explain this and just give some tips on how to work with children who seem to kind of check out from what's going on around them?
Sure. I think we covered this before, but I received so many questions about that. I think I'm going to do a specific one entire class just on that, because there's so much questions and confusion out there about this. In general, it's not so much dyslexia. Sometimes it's what people call ADD, but it's also autism. It is exactly the brain channel, the mind channels of the child. The mind channels of the child is connected to the galactic grid, for example. So you take a look. And the planetary one, the little one that's down here, is not. It has a much lower vibration that is very boring, and so they are not trained to keep it within the planetary grid system. So it bypasses the planetary and it connects to a higher frequency, which is the galactic grid system. And that's why when we are trying to communicate with them, they seem to be, like you said, checking out and not connected. That is because they are going to higher vibration, usually into the galactic, and of course also the universal. So these children are really holding on to, or wanting at least to hold on to the bigger aspect of their consciousness, so that that type of communication is much more stimulating to their brains than the way they are learning information down here on Earth. Because here, this type of rote learning, that we grow in, we are used to, is telling them to mindlessly to take the information and repeat it. That's all we're telling them to do. And again, I'm going to teach you this process in the next class. You will realize that you're only using a tiny portion of your brain when you are listening to information and repeating over and over and accepting it to be the truth. And so the universal way is that it's your entire works in the way that your entire brain retrieves the entire information of whatever it is that you are retrieving. For example, let's say I'm teaching a child about, an apple or an orange or what have you. Instead of holding up this orange and telling the child, this is an orange, repeat after me, and the child has to simply repeat, then instead of this is a very linear, planetary, very low vibration, and the child is only using a tiny portion of their brain. Instead of this, in the galactic grid, for example, the child has the ability to retrieve the information of the orange on his own. In other words, as he retrieves with his whole brain the consciousness of the orange, he's able to become the orange, so to speak, to understand the consciousness of the orange as a whole. He will know that this is a type of food, a type of fruit that is filled with glucose or whatever, the sugars, the chemistry of this fruit as a whole. It's that his entire consciousness is retrieving the entire information of the entire consciousness at once. And the only thing that he has to learn down here is what people call it. People call it orange. That's it. That's all he has to kind of know, so that he's referring to. But the way to retrieve the information is much more full and complex. So that's the reason why when children are forced into a very small linear way of learning, they check out, because it is really not the authentic universal way of learning. Okay? And how to deal with this? Like I said, I think I'm going to have to do a whole class on that. And this is exactly how the Omnium method is really based, is on shifting to the complete brain and beginning to teach others and ourselves, by the way. All right, next question. Hello, Caroline. Thank you for the class. I relate to this part about the weight of added information. I wonder, though, what is in me, what part of myself that craves drugs and sugar while I actually know I'm actually craving the manifestation of what my divine DNA is. What do you know what I mean? I seem to be a puppet in the hands of addiction and obsession, the planetary stuff. But I feel, okay, that's it. The email ends here. Okay, so basically that's what happened is that because we are bombarded with all of this information, like as I said, this drawing that I showed you, the slide that I showed you, don't forget we are bombarded with information, with frequency from our outer reality, without really any manual guide, so to speak. Without anybody telling us how to process the information and how to really create beyond what we are seeing. And by the way, another reason why this particular meditation and really specifically intending for your mind channels to be pointed and connected into universal source at the center of the universe. The reason why also you do this is so that you can bypass the planetary frequency and function, in other words, so that you can receive the information from the universal aspect of your being and integrate it properly. Otherwise, if your mind channels are all trapped down here, do you see what I mean? How could you even see clearly? And that's exactly what happens, by the way, because our mind channels are trapped with the information down here on the earth that we cannot survive. So after years and years and years and years, of course, we come up with belief systems that we're not good enough, that this is too difficult, that this is exhausting. And so we start to manifest addictions and revert to anything that will make us feel good. Just out of despair, desperation, we're trying desperately to reach the higher frequencies and we don't know how. What do you think drugs are? All the people who are taking drugs, especially young adults, they are trying desperately to reach beyond this 3D material planetary vibration. And so they have no other way. They don't understand. Nobody's teaching them this information. Nobody's telling them, hey, you have mind channels that can reach that far. You don't have to take anything. You can just do it organically. But if you don't know that, then you're going to take and reach whatever you can at the time, just so that you can take a break. So you can take a break from this planetary vibration that is really low, that's really confusing. And so, but again, before you know it, you've been doing this for so long that it's very, very difficult for you to come out of the addiction, and you start to create a cycle of creation. But again, with this work, that's why if you understand this, you're going to learn tools to undo this very quickly. And in fact, I've had people, I don't talk too much about this, and there's like hundreds, honestly, since I started teaching this, hundreds of people who email me with, they call a miracle or what have you. But if this is a good time to talk about it, I'm going to just tell you, in terms of addiction, we've had people who stopped, for example, smoking. They've been smoking 2 packs a day or a pack a day for years, 10 years, 20 years, or what have you. And we were in a live class in the case of one person, and she just simply stopped smoking. She went out to get a cigarette, and that was it. She could not. She felt nauseated. She never took a cigarette ever again. She lost weight. She looks great. Her skin looks great, because people say, oh, you have all these symptoms, withdrawal, whatever. Nothing at all. And this happened. Other people stopped drinking. Not even from a live class. I know somebody on this in this course actually, looking at her right now, who also, among others, many others, who have taken the online class a year, 2 years after I had recorded them, and stopped drinking completely after years and years, just like that. No symptoms, no side effects. So that is the reason why I'm teaching this, because there's so much evidence that if you understand that even addiction is information, you're telling the cell to turn this way, it's going to turn this way. If you tell it to turn that way, it's going to turn that way. If you tell it, hey, I'm giving you a substance that makes you feel good, it's going to say, okay, whatever you say. You are in charge of the cell. The cells will end up doing what you tell them to do, so, but there's a way out, like I just said. Okay, good. Other questions? Here we go. Let's see. I want to have time to do the exercise, but let me see if somebody else. So I'm doing energy work, it's another question, on someone who is lying down on a massage table. Does this alter the flow of energy? Should I be doing energy work on a client as they sit upright with feet on the ground? Yes, I do recommend that. Now, if your work is massage therapy, for example, of course it's fine if they're lying down, but if you can get them to do that connection sitting up in this position, I think it would be best. So try that first, okay? Can I do the connection while driving? To at least raise my vibration even if my eyes aren't closed. Of course. See, what's going to happen, you guys, is eventually you're going to be able... Why are you learning this? You're kind of taking baby steps, and I'm going quite slowly here, teaching you every little detail so that this information gets so clear. The reason why we don't heal is because we're not clear, or even heal others, is because we're not quite clear how this block was created. Where is it in the body? If we don't know that, then how are we supposed to take it out, right? So at the end of the day, all of this information that I'm teaching you is supposed to get you to a place where no matter what, whatever is happening around you, you're going to still be bombarded with lower vibration, because that's where the planet is right now, and that's the way it is. Maybe it'll be less, but it'll still be there. This exercise will eventually get you to shift your vibration and raise it to 700, 800, 900, 1,000 hertz in split seconds. Split seconds, yes. So the idea is this: you can never just stay at 1,000 24/7. So what happens is you start your day hopefully at 900 or 1,000. You come out, and then you start to drop a little bit, and then you raise yourself up, and then you drop, and then you you keep doing this for a while until your brain gets so used to the vibration of 900 and 1,000 that you can then simply tell it 1,000 now, and you're there. You see? In the same way, you are going to be able to shift anything, not just yourself, but also help your clients. But this also has to do with you having taken out, also reversing all of the information that is inside the cells. And again, at the end of the day, the way you're going to be healing others is simply by being there. What I'm trying to tell you is this: if I am vibrating here, where is the one with the client? At the end of the day, I should be able to sit there with my 1,000 hertz and do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. All the tools that I'm going to teach you are going to be, it's kind of like software. If you buy a new software, you have to upload it in your computer. You have to tell your computer that you have this software, this software, this software, and that software. But what's going to happen is that you're going to get yourself on automatic. And you're going to eventually sit there with the highest vibrational frequency that you can uphold. And as you tune into your client, because all this software is already in your consciousness, you will know exactly where to go with what tool, to what organ, and do what. You see? So that's what you're training yourself to do. Eventually, as you are driving, for example, you see, for example, something on the road, or you see an accident or whatever, or you see somebody getting hurt or something like that, something that will lower your vibration suddenly. So normally you should be able to shift it very quickly within seconds or minutes or what have you. But until then, I really recommend that you do this very seriously in the way that I'm telling you for now, to train your brain, to train your consciousness to get used to this and to put it in your cells to hold this information as powerfully as possible. And then you can do it, as you're driving, as you're walking, or whatever. Okay, go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, my computer did that without me even touching it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you have no questions?
No.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Carolyn, do you have a question? Is there another question? Okay, let's see. Maybe we can just get to the exercise now. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Pierrette, do you have a question? Okay, fine, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and do the guided exercise. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like you to be able to experience this so that it kind of gels in your consciousness. The three energy fields and exactly where they connect. Do you see that? I'd like you to experience how you can be three beings or three energy fields all at once, and how it's all connected in your body. So because the more you experience that, the more you get used to going back there. I'm going to do I'll do a connection, and then also we're going to go to certain organs of the body. We're going to go to organs and simply, of course, we're going to do a lot more of this after the next class and the next, of course, down the road. But for today, simply we're going to go to organs that you think need a little assistance, and we're simply going to raise them to their proper vibration. So it doesn't mean they all have to go to 734. It doesn't mean that they all have to go to a particular one, because your liver at this particular time is not the same as somebody else's liver at this particular time. So let's say we pick the liver. We're going to go to the liver and we're simply going to feel it. Just notice how it feels and simply allow it to raise itself to the proper frequency that it needs to heal. We're simply going to put that intent and allow it to heal and do its own thing. And of course, like I said, as we move more into the course, I will tell you exactly how all of this mechanism is really working. Okay? So here we go. Let's begin with the exercise. Sit up straight with your feet flat on the floor. Go ahead and close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. Quiet your mind. Quiet your thoughts. Just relax. Again, deep breath in through the nose. Deep, deep breath. Exhale. Quiet down. And let go of the tension in your neck, your shoulders, your arms. Ask your mind to quiet down. And again, deep breath in through the nose, deep breath. And exhale through the mouth, quiet down. Ask for your thoughts to just stop. Relax your mind. Breathe in again through the nose, deep breath. As you exhale through the mouth, bring your focus to your navel. Right behind your navel is a point, a 0 point, that holds your energy field, your human planetary energy field together. Simply intend to go there. Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, expand 360 degrees and imagine that you are in a sphere about 7 or 8 feet in diameter that is perfectly held by that point behind your navel. That is your human planetary energy field. Take a moment to notice how it feels. Ask to remember this feeling, to discern it. This is your human planetary aspect. Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, allow it to clear, to let go of the lower vibrations. And now bring your focus to your heart and find one point behind your heart. That point is the 0 point that holds your second energy field together. That is the aspect of your being that we call spirit energy, your soul identity. Breathe in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, expand 360 degrees and imagine that you are now in a sphere about 11 to 12 feet in diameter. Take a moment to feel and experience this second aspect of your being. This aspect is what we call your soul identity, spirit energy. Take a moment to discern it. Notice how it feels. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Shift your focus now to the center of your brain. find a point behind the pineal gland. Simply set your intent to go to that 0 point, the point that holds your third energy field in place. The aspect of your being that we call mind energy or consciousness. This is who you really are. The type of being that you truly are. The universal being that you truly are. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth and expand 360 degrees. And imagine that you are now in another sphere about 30 feet in diameter that is perfectly held in place by that 0 point. Take a moment to notice how that aspect of your being truly feels. That is the aspect of your being that creates, that truly creates, with universal frequency. Notice how it feels. That is your true consciousness. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Bring your focus back to your heart center. Ask to now integrate the 3 energy fields together. Ask to be the full being that you are. In a coherent, aligned way. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Expand 360 degrees. Emerge with your spirit self, the aspect of your being that vibrates between 734 and 1000 hertz. This layer is approximately 12 feet from your body. It's the diameter of a sphere that you are sitting in. All you have to do is intend to focus on that layer that is vibrating between 734 and 1000 hertz. Allow the 3 energy fields to be perfectly coherent, still focusing on your heart. Notice how you feel. when you are aware of your complete, full being here in human form. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Bring your focus to one organ inside your body. Choose one. As you focus on this organ, simply intend for it to raise its own vibration to the optimal vibration it needs at this time to heal. You don't have to tell it, to think it or guess it. Intend for the intelligence of the organ itself to find this optimal vibration. Breathe in, exhale, and just allow it to be. Experience, feel it. Notice how this organ feels. Breathe in. As you exhale, bring your focus to another organ and do the same thing. Just intend for that organ to find its own optimal vibration and allow it to be. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Bring your focus back to your heart. Intend for the vibration of the various organs to continue to shift to their optimal pace. And slowly, whenever you're ready, open your eyes. And let's try to share very quickly, since this is a class, share a little bit what you've experienced. The most important thing for me for this exercise is to help you or allow you to discern the three energy fields, because that is what's going to remain in your consciousness, and also try to discern the different vibrations of the organs. You don't have to know exactly what they were, what they've become. It's not necessary at this point. You will, though. So if you would like to share very quickly so others can learn from your experience, go ahead. Do you have something to say? Okay. Let's see. Somebody has a question. You guys, if your hand is up, it means you have something to say. Do you have something to share, Haya?
Oh no, sorry.
Okay.
Was it up?
Yes, okay, all right. So I just would like to see some reactions about this exercise so that others can share, can also benefit from your experience. Stephanie, do you have something to share? Okay, we're going to let you relax. In the meantime, I have one question saying you mentioned that the physical DNA is unique to every human being. Is it the same for the divine DNA? Or is it the same for all humans? I love it. Of course, it is absolutely unique to every being in existence. There are no two beings that have the same DNA. And I think you can imagine how many beings there must be. The idea of this work is to begin to understand who you really are, what type of being you are, what type of consciousness you hold, since it's very, very unique to you. One comment on this exercise: at the universal level, feeling whole, one with everything, limitless, free, infinite love. Someone is commenting in the first field, meaning the human, I felt nauseous. Okay. All right. Another comment, John is saying, it was strange when I focused on the organ, it felt like smoke was coming off of them. Yes, my dear, you were releasing the lower vibration. And the smoke, it looks like smoke or feels like smoke. It's all the tiny little vibration of the emotions and the belief systems and all that stuff. All right, and more comments, vibrating at very high level, beautiful level, very nice. All right, so needless to say that you can go back and do this exercise again. You should be doing this exercise again. I will be receiving your questions, as I mentioned earlier, and responding to them in the next class. Next class, I will share with you how these blocks really register inside the body, how they really look as a whole, so that we can understand how to treat something and undo this process throughout the body, and also how to read information, how to really know what vibration everything is at, to retrieve information properly, to have a proper guidance system so we know how to heal. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again next week.